A source confirming to our insider Adam Schefter that the Dolphins are trading running back Jay Ajayi to the Eagles in exchange for a 4th-round pick. The third-year Ajayi was a Pro Bowler last season. So far this season, 465 rushing yards in 7 games. Again, trade deadline 4 p.m. Eastern time today, but we do have this breaking news. And again, Adam Schefter reporting it. Adam Schefter joining us live now on the phone. Adam, thanks for being here. You just broke this news. What can you tell us?
Well, Sage, these two teams have a history of making deals. You remember the trade that they made that involved Kiko Alonso, Byron Maxwell to Miami, that enabled the Eagles to get into position to move further up in the draft to go get Carson Wentz. Dolphins added depth. This time, the player goes to Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Eagles add Jay Ajayi for a 4th-round pick. So the Eagles get a playmaker for their offense, which they had been looking for. The Dolphins get a pick. I think that they had grown a little weary of Jay Ajayi's missed assignments there, and we're looking to move on. I think Adam Gase had been a little bit frustrated in that regard. The two sides began talking. A trade is worked out. And again, I go back to a conversation I had with a GM last week who said to me at that point in time that we've got a situation here where we've got a lot of teams grouped together. We've got young, aggressive GMs, and that creates a volatile mix of cocktails before the trade deadline. And again, we've seen a slew of trades now in the last week. Marcel Darius to Jacksonville, Dwayne Brown to Seattle, Jimmy Garoppolo to San Francisco, and now the latest one leading up to the 4 o'clock Eastern trade deadline today. Jay Ajayi, the running back from Miami, goes to Philadelphia for a 4th-round draft pick.
All right, that is our Adam Schefter with the breaking news, the trade here again as we count down to the deadline. And it does seem to be a little bit of a busier trade deadline here as we approach it at 4 o'clock Eastern. Louis Riddick, Ryan Clark with us now. Your reaction, this happened in the break.
Yeah.
Eyebrows raised a little bit when we told you.
Yeah, I think it's a twofold issue. One, that you heard Adam allude to the fact that Adam Gase is trying to really shake up that roster down there. That performance they put on against the Baltimore Ravens was gross on both sides of the football, and he's trying to really get the attention of his football team because they're not listening. On the defensive side, you got guys committing personal fouls, the kind of stuff outside of the real context of the game that's unnecessary. And on the offensive side, they just underperform. Jay Ajayi is now going into a situation where he has a team that is a legit Super Bowl contender, if not already the best team in the NFC. And they need his style. They need a downhill slasher like Jay who can be very explosive. I mean, it's a great move. Howie Roseman's a very aggressive GM. You know, Mike Tannenbaum and him have a good relationship. That's how these deals are made. This is the new world order as far as the trade deadline in the NFL. A lot of guys who are younger GMs who kind of look at this thing, not like fantasy football, but are much more willing to do things given the room under the salary cap than you used to be able to.
Ryan, if you're in that Dolphins locker room and you see this bell cow back get traded at this point of the season, what is that saying to you?
Well, I think when you look at your team, he hasn't been the bell cow back that you expected him to be off of some of those rushing performances last year. And so now you listen to Lou talk about how they looked against Baltimore. It wasn't just the running game. It wasn't just the penalties. It's everything that's gone on in Miami. So you want to make that locker room feel like, you know what, we need to do what we have to do. We need to get in line with what Adam Gase wants or we won't be here. So I think that's what he wants to do. But on the other side, if you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, this is a statement that we want to win now. We're not content with being 7-1. We're not content with possibly being the best team in the NFC. We want the deck stacked in our favor. And so I love this move for Philadelphia, and I also understand it for the Miami Dolphins. So moving forward, this is what the NFL will look like now when it gets to the trade deadline. It used to be we didn't even talk about these things. Adam could take this day off.
Yes, he could.
In other years. You know, now he got all 6 of his phones, and he got one on this ear, he texting on this one, he tweeting on the one on his foot, because now teams understand. It's not about the consistency of your locker room. It's about the way you go out and win games. And I love the way that teams are now making moves to win now.
This is like the NBA trade deadline today.
Yeah, exactly. I love
maybe
it.
not quite that busy. By the way, for the Philadelphia Eagles, is this, by the way, maybe the one part offensively specifically that we haven't talked about? Because Carson Wentz has been so good, but LeGarrette Blount has about the same amount of yards as Ajayi does. And Carson Wentz is their second leading rusher.
Yeah, it gives them like a little bit smaller LeGarrette Blount. I mean, that's how Jay runs. Jay runs to make you have to make business decisions as a secondary player. Because when he gets rolling downhill, he carries a little bit more momentum. And if he's right and he's dialed in, then he's good to go. See, that's the thing. That's the problem in Miami. There's just too much inconsistency down there. That team is very much so up and down. Very much so the pendulum swings left to right. In Philadelphia, he's going into a culture that's much more, I don't want to say it's really established because it's not like Philly's really won anything lately, but they have a mojo going right now led by their head coach and their quarterback and a defense that will absolutely just shut you down. That most guys will buy into winning. We'll all buy into winning. We go there, all of a sudden we'll sit up straight and be like, hey, I'm a good guy. I'm here to just keep going the way you're going. And hopefully, I think they're thinking they'll get the same thing from him.